Go. Well, I hope you all had a great weekend, first of all, and a good trading yesterday already on Monday, but it was a bit of a slow day, I think. Not really that much movement as typical for a Monday, I would say. We're going to take a look at our standard breakout trades and maybe London Open trade and see if there's anything interesting. So before we do that, we're going to take a look at this PowerPoint, of course, as you are well aware, at Admiral Markets, our trading room. But as always, the risk disclaimer advising you that and warning you that global financial markets are considered high risk and may not be suitable for all investors, right? So please be aware of that and seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information and more guidance. And this video and webinar is for educational purposes only. So thanks for your attention on that. Well, as you are aware, hosted by our own Admiral Markets, presented by me, Chris Svorcik, on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're going to take a look at the markets together. And of course, on Thursdays evenings, we'll have the educational seminar, as always, together. I didn't see the link yet to register, but it should be there soon. All right. So that should be available any moment. You can register for the educational webinar on Thursday evening. These are the strategies we're going to look at, the breakout strategies especially. I'll try to make a nice mix of intraday swing and position trades, although I'm more a swing trader, to be honest, as you probably know. Breakouts is my preferred method, but we'll take a look at fibs as well. And before we do that, we're going to usually, of course, take a look at the Forex calendar, see if there's anything major that could be disturbing to our trading. And we have only the euro. Italian retail sales apparently has a high impact, which still an hour and 12 minutes. That's towards the end of our session. Otherwise, clear sailing towards till the New York session, where we have USD core goods and new home sales. Now, in general, it is so, in my opinion, that this week, because it's the last week of the month, it has a bit of a different character. And I would say, in general, I do reduce my risk a bit this entire week compared to the middle weeks of the month. I always do that with the first and the last week of the month because they are usually a bit different, or at least a bit riskier, let me say it this way. So that's not always the case, but in Forex, normally the last and the first are always a bit kind of more different. That's also in the case of months, the first and last month, the first and last day, the first and last week, the first and last hour, the first 5 and last 5 minutes of the hour. It's really true for everything, on all time frames in general. All right. With that said, let's take a look at the London Open. This is the pound 50 minutes. And the 89 EMA, which is the London Open trade, we're looking at the 89 EMA, the direction, which has an upslope and prices above it, so we're in an uptrend here. And we're going to take a look at the 5-minute world to see if we already had a break of this high and low. Ironically enough, I didn't actually place these horizontal orange lines, but these are still dating back from Thursday. And funny enough, they're at the exact same spot as almost the exact same spot as the London Open today. And if you would leave these lines on, actually, you would see that quite often. It's quite funny how price does go back to these levels. Really interesting. So that's coincidence. Of course, I didn't pre-plan that, but let's see. So we put these horizontal lines at the tops and bottoms of the 5 to 7 London time, British Standard Time, summertime zone, and yet again we got a break here of that high before European Open, or London Open, I should say, actually. Sorry. So that is again a break too early, just a bit too early here, for the London trade to materialize. So it's not a frequent trade, as we can see, or at least recently it isn't. We broke this high of 5 to 7 by 10 pips, and we came down here. So let's 50-minute world though already kind of in an uptrend, but we know of course that the pound has fallen a lot, just like the euro. If we look at the 4-hour chart, you can see a nice fall. 1-hour chart too. But then again, if we maybe add the AO, or if I go here and we look at the 1-hour chart, maybe, just maybe, we already had actually 5 waves completed here. And it's time to make now an ABC correction. So that could spell upside. This upside is tricky though in a way because of the fact that we had such a huge impulse to the downside. Even if we do go upside, we could easily go down and then up first. So it's a tricky spot where the currency is right now. The dollar gaining a lot of strength, but you know it's a bit tricky in the sense that the dollar weakness could happen, but do we get a bit of strength first, or do we really continue with this dollar strength trend? So for me, the euro and the pound not really in optimal places, to be honest. A break of that high maybe could be an indication that the pound dollar is going up again. That could be an important level, but it is a bit tricky. You can see that price, the moving averages are pointed downwards, and price is actually in between, which and just kind of going sideways, which could actually, you could easily see a fall from here as well. It's not a place that I find very interesting. We're also at a 50 fib. We strongly bounce off that 50 fib. That too could be a reason for more upside, and then maybe more downside. Something like, for example, this. Then back to the 618. So, and we could get a 618 bounce here. That often happens, that you bounce off both fibs of both sides at the 618, for example, up and down, and maybe start building a wedge or a bigger correction. So that's something that could happen here too. So that's a bit tricky. Let me see if let me take a look at the day chart quickly though. You see that if we look at the day chart here, we can see a positive bullish candle yesterday. So that could be a first sign that we might make a bigger reversal here, right? At the 50 fib, pretty good bullish candle on the GU. All right. So, you know, that's something that could send this up. But then if we do make that upside, any up move will encounter resistance when we get close to this top, right? So something like that seems the path of least resistance to me at the moment. All right? Something like that. The week chart, of course, just like the euro, has a massive engulfing bearish candles. So any up move here will eventually, as I said already on the day chart when I said the path of least resistance, should encounter some resistance just because of those engulfing weekly patterns. I mean, we had that here too, engulfing, and we had 2 weeks downside. Something like that might happen. Maybe we'll have an inside candle, bullish inside candle this week, and then we'll see that downside continuation. For a bit at least, all right? And then we still might go into support areas right in here for that upside, all right? You see, the thing is that this is the last week of the month. And if you look at the month candle, this week is going to be a crucial deciding factor how this month candle closes. If we get a bullish candle, not even a big bullish candle, just a small bullish candle that's goes up to here, for example, it would be an inside candle because it's in a way it doesn't engulf these bearish twins, right? Anything up to here is just still an inside candle. That, however, a close around 156.40 would mean that we get a bullish close actually on the month chart with a close above May high, which is at May high is 156. Anything above 156 actually is just a monthly continuation to the upside. So this week is going to have a drastic effect on the long-term analysis of this GU. It will have an effect on, definitely a strong effect on July, of course, and August probably as well. Because if this is a bearish candle, if this becomes a bearish candle at the end of the week, then if we then zoom out to the month chart, you're going to have a major wick at the top, which means signals July and August downside. If we have a doji, it will stay like this. Then it's a bit of an indecision. If we have a bullish weekly candle, we're going to have a massive positive monthly candle, and then we might see some retrace but of that month candle in July, but then we should see again a bounce. So this week is going to be very interesting for me. I can't wait to see how this week ends, to see what kind of expectation I have, with regard to the expectations of the long-term analysis. That's really going to be very interesting to me. Also, if we do get you see how this ties in this time factor. If we get a bullish candle here, on the week chart it's still an inside candle, but on the month chart we have a nice bullish candle. What that means, this is the month chart for a moment, what that means is that we could easily get a continuation of downside because of these engulfing weekly candles plus inside candle, which means on the month chart we'll get a move down on July, and when we approach somewhere the open or the lower region of this monthly candle, which means after, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks of downside, we should see that support tie in somewhere here for upside again, which is somewhere here. All right, so that's how weekly engulfing bearish candles would have their impact on the charts for downside, but it would actually just be a retrace on the monthly chart of the candle. And in both cases, then we'll see support. The other scenario would be bearish candle this week, and then we'll have a major wick at the top of the monthly. In that case, we could see a bounce maybe here to see a retrace of this wick, and then we'll see bearishness kick in when we trace that wick for more downside, or an immediate downside, one of the two. So that's really going to be interesting. That's the level of effect it could have on that long-term analysis. My bias is a bullish candle this week, and 2 weeks in July downside, and then that upside continuation as the first scenario. This is scenario 2, the first scenario I was talking about. That's my bias. So it looks like we're starting that right now. We already have some. We had already a good day bullish candle yesterday. So it looks like we're actually kind of slowly but surely dragging our feet to that scenario. Of course, that inside candle on the week chart doesn't have much space. It could probably end up anywhere in here. So what we could see maybe is today up, tomorrow down, Thursday maybe a bit, or maybe Thursday indecision, and then Friday up, for example, so that the week candle then ends up here somewhere. We need to travel 5 days within this. Oh, sorry about that. I deleted my own chart. Excuse me. We need to spend 5 days probably here. If my scenario, my bias would be true, but I don't care. Whatever it happens, if it's a doji this week, if it's a bearish candle, week bullish candle, I have plans for that for both scenarios. But if I had to choose, I think we'll have a small bullish candle this week. Small in the sense of something like this. Now today, although I have a bullish bias, I'm not interested in it right now because we're at yesterday's high. As you know, I don't want to buy it at a high of a candle, especially a daily candle. We're right at that daily high. We had the same on the euro last week, Thursday, where we avoided buying right at the high. That was a good thing because it's crashed. Actually, it would have been probably good to take a short. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily is a good idea here because there are different scenarios. The euro was struggling upwards in a rising wedge after an impulse. But to be honest, that too could break to the upside, but it can also break to the downside. It had an impulse. It had a potential to be an impulse to both directions. I filtered the downside because I only wanted to trade with the trend. All right, so I was only interested in the break to the upside. What didn't happen? All right. So, but anyhow, good that we filtered it out and waited for the break at least. So that too probably is relevant here. It's a different situation, but a daily high is always important. All right. Although the price action looks bullish, you still want to see a break of that level. Let me take a look. At the 50-minute chart here. So the Asian high was at 55 and we went to 63 and are getting a bounce. So the usual 8 pip difference actually right in here, kind of maybe a double top for the moment, right? It could just go down. You were kind of building a bit of upside, so let's see how it responds when we get into maybe support area right in here. It's kind of a sideways range, very tight one, small one, low time frame range that could easily break like this and then go like this. This would be the downside, could be the false move, and the upside could be the true move. All right. I'll put back those orange lines here. I didn't have them. I only have them on the other chart. Okay. Good. Goody good. So that's why I'm not interested now, personally, in this currency. But let's see how it develops through the London session. Maybe we'll get some price action that makes it interesting. This is the euro dollar, and basically everything I said for the pound dollar is equally valid for the euro. The only difference is that the euro, in a way, let me get rid of some of these lines here. The euro is kind of different in the sense that it's more a wedgie type of formation. It's really just stuck in a sideways move here with one peak. You know, so that's a bit different. I mean, the pound had a nice downtrend. The euro really not much of a downtrend here. I mean, it made a nice down move. I don't know if it's that powerful. It's still 1,000 pips, but the G was a bit different there. The euro did have a positive candle as well, so really the entire thing I said on the pound, more or less the same as for the euro. Same stuff basically. I mean, if we put the fib on this up move, you can see we also went to the 618 to the pip, right, which tied into this top and this sideways zone as well. So that's confluence, 618 fib, and we bounced from there. So here too, we could easily see that bounce continuation. Oh, we had a pretty positive European Open actually. I didn't see that yet. That just closed 4 minutes ago actually, of course. So that's also here though at double top, which is probably the daily high. We just pushed above it. So that could be already a first signal that we've just pushed a bit above it, maybe, that we will make that upside. But as you can see at the moving averages, it is counter trend. Here too, we made kind of 5 waves down, I think. Let me check it on this chart. Not really. It's more like 3 waves, isn't it? Yeah. So let's take a look at a bit smaller time frame, because clearly we can see, if we start with the day chart first of all, a 3-wave up and a massive fall last week. But right at 618 we see a pretty nice daily bullish candle. So after a fall like this, right to the 618, and this was a pretty strong move as well, you know, we could definitely, wouldn't be strange to see a bounce at least to that, and then see a fall maybe to the 786. Something like that is very, very possible, or something like this. Yeah. So a bounce here is definitely possible. On a 4-hour world, we're already in a downtrend. But the day chart, if you look at the fractals on the day chart, if we zoom in here, you can see that this is the last really one move up almost here. So this is still a retracement. And you can see 618 having its effect. So pretty bullish price action here. We had a pretty good struggle yesterday on the euro dollar, right in here. But the bulls winning, sending this higher, and another pretty good 4-hour candle actually. So I would like to know the low of that 4-hour candle. I'll put a line there. Okay, let's move on to the 1-hour chart now. Nothing that new here. Let me move on to the 15. You can see the massive struggle that we had yesterday in this area. That's when you have a downtrend, but it really, bumped into that major 618 level, and eventually the buyers won. But it was really a struggle, a tug of war for a very long time, as you can see. This is in a way maybe kind of a wedge break here, kind of like this. That too could favor the upside. Let me take a look at the 5-minute world now. So that looks pretty interesting. Maybe we can use actually this 5-minute setup to get a smaller attempt here on the euro dollar. Would have to reach the oversold level, right, and move back to the moving averages. Let me see how the pound looks like on the 5-minute. It's tricky though. No, pound doesn't have much of an angle on these moving averages, to be honest. The euro has that more. You see, the thrust on the euro is higher. Very tricky though. It's tricky spots, to be honest. But the euro did have a very good 1-hour candle here. Very good 1-hour breakout. So the thing is that, we did break the daily high, but by how much? Almost more looks like a double top. So, I mean, not a spot that I really get, really enthusiastic about. Let me say it this way. But a potential bounce could happen here on the euro dollar. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's keep an eye on it. First of all, it has to reach those parameters, right? On this 5-minute world. But so let's see if that happens. Nothing really that exciting, but let's see. What else can we? That was the pound and euro, basically. Any questions on that before I move on? Actually, anyone have a question? Anyone want to comment or share or tell me about your weekend? Anything, you name it. So basically, that's euro, the dollar, really tricky spot at the moment. Kalen wants to know if 31.35 is a good sell for 31. 31.35 for 31. Let's see. $31.35. Let me zoom into the 5-minute world here. Not so sure about the target, first of all. Let's see, 1-hour world. Well, what I don't like about the idea is that this is, personally, I see this as a very bullish price action signal, this 1-hour chart, this 1-hour candle. So to me, it's bullish price action, but bearish trend. So that's why there's not that confluence I'm looking for. But despite the fact that it's a downtrend, I wouldn't want to short against that candle personally. I mean, if it were to have reached a very important resistance level, maybe not really a key resistance level here, in my opinion. Also, the 4-hour chart, pretty massive bullish candle. Well, let me rephrase that. Actually, this is a 4-hour high, so you have a point. It is a daily high. That is true. What I don't like about it actually is just the 4-hour candle, which is very a close, very bullish close. The close is very near the high, which means there are no sellers, no wick, and the same thing the 1-hour chart has. So to me, any down movement here could easily be retraced to that 1-hour candle. So maybe if we break this low and hook back, that would be something else, or break this this pivot point here. But that's still a key bullish stronghold for me. So anything above there, I wouldn't be shorting personally, in my opinion. And that's the reason why, just because of the price action. And it would have been different. If we would have moved up here and we would have had a huge wick on this 1-hour chart off this level, well, that would have been a whole different story, wouldn't it? Then if we had a candle like that there, maybe wait for a small retrace, and that would have been a good short, because we are in a downtrend, and a price action signal in a downtrend at a daily high would have been perfect. But that last part, that price action signal, is not what I got, what I like to see here. This bullish close. Also, the close is even above this high. It's just a strong 1-hour candle, so that doesn't show weakness to me. So I wouldn't be shorting it above these levels. Okay, Caleb? That's my opinion, at least. Meredith, is the EU in a wave 4 to 132? I don't consider it a wave 4, to be honest. And the reason I don't consider it a wave 4 is because we made like this 3-wave motion here. But the problem with the third wave is that it's weaker than the first wave. We have divergence. And that should not happen with the wave 3. Wave 3 should be the most powerful and most aggressive, and shouldn't have divergence with wave 1, usually speaking. That is not the typical movement of a wave 3. So in that regard, I think this is more an ABC motion than a wave 1, 2, 3 because of that. So I will go with that flow and treat it that way for the moment. I would expect a 3-wave up, maybe a 3-wave down, and then upside again. The pound is a bit different. Pound, actually, funny enough, the pound did make 5 waves down here. And you can see this would be a typical wave 3 right in here, which is the strongest, compared to wave 1 and wave 5. So we have convergence between wave 1 and 3 and divergence between wave 3 and 5, which is typical for a 5-wave structure. So that does fit, funny enough, ironically. It's a bit funny that the GU and EU, they have different setups there, different counting that happens. So that's why I would expect personally to see this now, and then maybe again a downside. But always difficult to predict precisely. We could get an extension, and we could see a continuation of this downtrend as well, right? So, but that's why I would have a different count on the euro. Okay, where was I? Here. Dennis, yeah, we definitely take a look at gold. There's no problem. We could take a look at that right now if you want. No problem with me. If you have a a question in the meantime, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to continue with the scanning, okay, of some setups here. But more setups maybe on the 1 and 4 hour chart. We'll keep an eye on this 5-minute euro dollar, and also keep an eye on this pound 50-minute world. We had a very strong fall off that 8 pip breach of this top. As I said in my webinar on GU characteristics on the educational website of Admirals, right? There's quite often a 8 pip break is quite common for the GU. So, same could happen here actually, 8 pip break and a bounce, all right? So I want to keep an eye on this GU and the EU 5 minutes, see if there's anything interesting in the next hour that's worth trading on the smaller time frames. But in the meantime, I don't want to hang here around the entire time. So with that said, I will slowly but surely kind of scan some other charts so that those of you swing traders and position traders have a opportunity as well to trade. So I hope the intraday traders have a bit of patience. In any case, you can see how I tackled the euro and pound so far. But nothing interesting for the intraday, in my opinion. All right. So with that said, let's take a quick look at gold. And gold had a massive break. I think I was saying it here as well, but I'm not 100% sure anymore. But you can see nice wedge. It was about to break. Impulse correction, impulse, small hook back, and boom, a big fall. So I'm not sure if I said it here, but I definitely warned others about that. And we're right at the close to the 618 target. Depends how you put the fib. All right, so this could be an area where we could eventually see a bounce. I think looking at the potential of the gold to fall one more time, I think it's still high, especially if we make a correction like this after a fall. One more break to 1250, I think it's definitely a potential. Then we're kind of maybe getting an area where we could see a bigger move up or a bounce or maybe some consolidation and then a break to the upside. I mean, this was a great trend. I've been warning for this trend since 2011 that the fall on gold and silver is going to happen. It finally did, and it's been great, and it's been lasted for a very nice period of time. It was great trading to the downside. It made several awesome falls, and I still think that one fall is likely. I said I think last time that I expect still 2 bottom breaks here. This is the first, and I still expect one more break at least. One more fall, but then eventually if you hit 1250, I think it's probably approximately the 50% retracement of the entire move up, of the entire bullish move up on gold. Eventually, at one point or another, I don't know if it's 1250, it could be 1,000 as well, for example. But eventually, my point is that there has to be some bounce and renewed interest, I would say. 1250, I think, is approximately the 50 fib. Let me take a look. No, it's a 382. I guess it depends how you fib it as well. So the 50 fib is a bit lower. Okay. 1080. Well, even the 382 fib, still a massive level. I guess if you would maybe only fib this move up here, it's a 50-ish. Well, yeah, you get my point. So not saying it can't fall a bit more, but especially if you look at this momentum, it probably take a long time for a turn to happen. So I'm probably talking way too soon here, to be honest. But eventually something like this will happen. We'll get some rounding here. We're not rounding at all yet, so probably talking way too early about this. But Yeah, this is a pretty strong zone here too. So, I'm curious when we'll get the turn. But for the moment, still very bearish, and I've been bearish already ever since this fall. So let's see how much we can get. Still, one more fall definitely likely, in my opinion. The question is from where? Well, any break, any move back to these bottoms here, 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 any move back here, and a reversal candle would be a good downside. Or otherwise, I'll have to wait for a break of this low, because we're right at the bottom. You can see we already kind of could be building or attempting to build a bigger correction here. So I'm not going to go short right at this bottom. So I want to break at this bottom or a bigger correction and wait for the break and fall to the downside. So that's what I would be looking for. All right. You can see last time we had nice breaks of these corrections as well. So if we get something like this here, that would be perfect. And then we'll probably get that fall to 1250. Then we'll have to see how price responds to that 1250. I mean, do we get another, do we get a massive correction, or is it a small correction and again a fall, or a close in reverse for upside? That's something we have to see. 1250 is a good level to keep an eye on. So that will be important. All right. All right, Denise. Oh, great. I'm happy you liked it. Awesome. So if you have any questions, Denise, let me know, okay? But otherwise, I'll move on for the moment to, let's see. I think there's some structures I like on, let me see, the pound Swiss C, for example. Maybe the pound odd, but we've already made a pretty good correction here. We're quite close to the zero line. So that could be interesting. The thing is we need to reach the zero line, and we need to then break this high. You see, we respected that high on this candle that was just posted with a pretty good wick here. So I want to see this back to the zero line, and then a break of this high for upside continuation. All right. Anyone who wonders why that is so, we had a webinar on intra-week strategies. So please take a look at that educational webinar with Tarantula and myself, and that strategy will be explained in that video. Okay. So that could be an interesting setup if we meet those two criteria, but that's setting up pretty decently. Just like the pound odd has been bullish for 2.5 months now. Any of these breaks, I mean, tons and tons of breaks here to the upside. Really bullish breakout heaven almost. Breaks after another. One break after another, and this has lasted for really a long time. And I've been warning about this pound odd ever since we made engulfing bullish weekly candles here and got to retrace and bounce. On all these occasions, I already was warning in various places about upside, also in articles for upside. We didn't have our live room yet here. But it was an immense trend, right, with a very strong continuation here. So if we break above this level, I would say why not one more move up? Really, I see nothing in the way of a potential of another move up. I mean, never underestimate the trend. I mean, this could be the last move up. We might not even get that move up. This could be the bigger retrace. Who knows? But if we break above that level after we hit the 4-hour AO zero line, and we do break that level, there's a very good statistical probability of that upside. All right. So that's one thing I wanted to warn you intraday swingers traders about. Okay. So that's the pound odd. It probably holds true actually for the euro odd as well. Let me see. Let me add the oscillators already here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that holds true for the euro odd as well. That's the crucial high at 143.16. So let's see. It's at a talking spot, because if it breaks this low, we're breaking a trend line, and who knows, we'll probably make that bigger retrace to the downside. Now, if we then again, if we break this high here, that would be a good swing trade as well for the upside, right? So interesting spot, especially the upside. Let's see. The Euro CAD, for those of you who joined me on the long-term position of that 2 weeks ago, or 1.5 weeks ago, just a trade update on this trade. This was a long-term position trade on the euro dollar based on the day chart. For those of you who joined me on the break of this high with a stop loss here, we're doing pretty good. We were up maybe at max 150 versus I would say it's a bit more than 200 pip risk here, so almost 1-to-1 at the moment. I'm still hanging in there for a bigger target, because if you fib this up move, you can see a 236 bounce, or maybe a 382 bounce even. So the target of that is the 618, minus 618 right here. We're at the minus 272. So we could see maybe a small retrace and then a continuation. I'll be very interested in a Euro CAD, not only as a to hold on to my position trade to this target. As you can see, that would be a nice trade there. But also, if we then zoom into 4-hour charts, no, 4-hour chart isn't set up at the moment. But if we get any bigger retrace here, I would draw a trend line on these tops, and I will look for a 1-hour break as well. All right, so that's how you can add. If you're a position trader and you're already in that trade, you can add maybe a scale in on the 1-hour chart if you have the time to. So just wanted to give a quick heads up for those big intraday traders that we're doing a-okay with that trade so far. It's been a steady, not all too fast movement up, but a steady one, making higher highs, higher lows, almost daily, just like yesterday as well. And that's what we want to see, basically, right at the 272 target. So don't be alarmed if we make maybe a bit bigger retrace, maybe even back to these tops. It is possible. And then see a push up again, all right? Because we are at this target. So we'll have to see how big the retracement will be. It doesn't have to be big, by the way. It could be just a small retracement as well. And we just see the 4-hour AO go back to the zero line. And then we could have a 4-hour AO trade scale-in option as well. All right. I wanted to show the Euro Pound and Pound Swissy, as well as the odd New Zealand. All right, those could be some interesting swing trades there available. Let's see. We start with the odd New Zealand otherwise. Odd New Zealand here. Alrighty. The odd New Zealand is interesting for me because we had a massive downtrend. And let's see. Let me something like this and like this. All right. So we had this downtrend where we made a lot of impulses to the downside, and we recently actually hit a pretty big target. If you fib this down move, you can see that we hit this minus 618 after hitting the 786. All right. So that could be very interesting for two reasons. First of all, a 618 bounce like this could see a bigger retrace, but also the 618 bounce could give a reason maybe for trend continuation. One of the measure points I would be using is this trend line, and actually we're breaking out, as you see, maybe right now. So if we would have respected that line, we could have seen a continuation of that downtrend. If we break that trend line, we might see a bigger upside correction, maybe all the way back to this trend line. for example. We could actually then, in that case, put a bigger fib here on this downside, a new fib, and we can see a move at least to the 382, maybe 50 or 618. Those are big spaces in between those fibs. So that could be interesting, all right? So let me take a look at the 4-hour chart now. And you can see we're pushing above this trend line, all right? I lost my drawings tool. 1 second. Give me just a second. Get some coffee maybe. I just have to get back my drawing tool. Somehow disappeared. All right, I'm almost ready with that. If you have questions about the Aussie New Zealand, you can maybe already let me know actually. All right, it's back. Sorry about that delay. We can continue now with the New Zealand. Now that I have my drawing tool back. Let's see. Just lost your question box now, of course. There it is. Good. No questions yet? Okay, no problem. So let me just add the oscillator here quickly. So that could be interesting. I like that upside break. What I prefer to see is either a move back to the zero line and then break at the next high, like that. Something like this. The next break would be good. All right. Or if we get a 1 hour consolidation that is big enough for me to take immediately here, I would take the next break of this consolidation to the upside. All right. So I'm not yet interested. I mean, in theory, it would be possible to go here, I guess. You know, that is possible with maybe a stop loss here. But for me, although I like the upside potential, I would rather wait for more confirmation. All right, especially if we break this high, that would be cool because then you know, we have that and then hook back. We have plenty of space to the upside. All right, so it's a bit early, maybe still in retrospect, but setting up nicely for that swing trade. So I still owe you the euro pound Swissy for sure, but I want to keep an eye on the pound and euro for some of the intraday traders. Although I'm sure they're getting bored by now. In the meantime, but who knows? Maybe I will. Make it so interesting for you to trade that you'll switch. Who knows? Let's see. This is the euro dollar 5-minute chart, and a lot happened, I see, in the meantime. I've been talking for a while. We did make that fall to the moving averages. Got a bounce here as well, and hanging around that level just as we speak. So on the 1 hour chart, it looks like a retrace of that last hour actually. See that? We got some power here, a bit of power. You know, so that's why I hope it's clear why that's bullish price action. All right, and if anything, a long As I said, when it bounces, when it reaches the oversold and we get a turn, would make sense. So that's approximately probably right now, actually, because unless you would have taken this wick here as a signal, bounced off that moving average, that could be right here. So it's possible. I don't know. It's not my favorite setup today, so I'm going to skip it personally. I know that a lot of people are probably, or some of you are really kind of hungry for a trade on the Euro 5-minute chart and would love to take one. Then I guess that, you know, that would make sense to me in that regard. It's not something I want to take, though, personally. I'd rather wait for a swing trade. But if there is anything that looks good regarding intraday, then it would probably be this, to be honest, because of the 1 hour bullish candle. It's not perfect. If you really want to trade with the trend, I don't think this is in an uptrend yet. It is still in a downtrend, so I consider it counter trend in my definition of trends. But looking at price action, it does have the potential to bounce here. But because this is in a downtrend, it could be very, very shaky and it could be very risky. So, you know, as always, I would take low risks on it. I personally take low risks on intraday trades and more risk on swing trades because those are more reliable in my opinion. But that's the way I trade. Probably Tarantula would beg to differ with me and would feel very comfortable with taking normal risk on intraday trades because that's what he focuses on. So he has more experience, is more comfortable with that. I feel more comfortable with 1 hour, 4 hour charts with the trend. But I definitely want to keep an eye on these charts for those of you intraday traders who still hang around and haven't left already. Let's see. This pound dollar, yeah, it's just bouncing up and down. We didn't even get a break of this low. Just bouncing in between those levels, these levels actually. So doing nothing really actually. I mean, a break of this low, a break, a hook back, and a bounce could make sense. A break, the first break I wouldn't be interested in because it easily could break it by 8 pips and you can see it close in reverse and go up. That could happen. Are there any intraday traders left here? So be careful of that because a break of this low could do that. It could be a false break. But if we break, hook back, and then continue instead of a false break, then that could be a pretty good BPC. All right? But I'll only be interested in the BPC, not in the first break because of that potential to be a false break and then move up again. In this case, on the pound. Probably, to be honest, same holds true for the upside. Only interested really in PBC because of that potential of actually a break, but then a false break. You know, the break becoming a false break, I should say, and then seeing downside, and then maybe here again upside, and we just have a range day. Also, any downside that does materialize in a fashion like this, I would be very careful of the 786, 618, and 86. Probably move my trade to break even maybe at the 618, or otherwise definitely target the 786. So the break, pullback, continuation, you know, that could be very vital here on this pound. How to trade the breakout of this tight consolidation zone in the 15-minute world. The same could hold true actually for the euro, to be honest. This too is a very tight range, and although we might have gotten the break in here already, and this could be the hook back, you know, the confirmation is actually when we break this top that we are good to go. And that way, we would have that, maybe that PC right there. All right. So the AO is building back to the zero line. So once it reaches the zero line here on the 5-minute world, it could be also ready for that upside. 5-minute world could be, already a confirmation when we break this, but then we're running into this 50-minute top. So the better break would definitely be the 50-minute break, in my opinion. All right. Does that? I don't know if anyone still is interested in that info, but let's go to the pound yen, because Marcel asked about the pound yen. That makes sense. I think that's a good currency to look at, because both the euro yen and the pound yen, in my opinion, have interesting setups. They have massive, I mean massive structures. They're just gigantic, and a break of that could really be interesting. All right, just like the pound Swiss actually in the euro pound. So there's some good potential breakouts on larger time frames, larger structures on those currencies. So we'll take a look at those. We'll take a look at the Aussie too, because I know there must be people who trade the Aussie, and that thing has just fell like no tomorrow, as I predicted in mid-April, and it actually probably has more to fall. So, that's something that I'm very interested in, is the Aussie as well. That is set up a lot better to me than the pound and euro, just because the euro and pound were actually moving up, and we got bearish engulfing twins to the downside. Take a look at this euro here. We have a few weeks upside, then we get bearish engulfing twins. That's downside signal. But the Aussie has actually, let me show it to you, is in a downtrend and continued with a very big engulfing, very big continuation downside candle, engulfing as well, actually. So not only did we have engulfing downside candles like the euro pound, but it was already in a downtrend. So to me, that's the most interesting. Price action bearish, trend is bearish. So that's an energy. Euro and pound a bit less, if you see what I mean regarding the difference there. All right. Especially because we broke through this major 93.80 level, which was a major level, because if you look at the tops here and the bottom here, that's a major level, right? We stalled it there. We stopped there a week, right? You can see we had a price action signal bounce off that, but then we continued and broke under the level and closed under that level. So of course we could make some retracement this week. But I'm very interested in a bounce in this area for downside. Very interested. I am really waiting here to jump on that. So to me, if this, as soon as this gets to the zero line, as soon as we have a 4-hour low, I'm taking that break of the low. If we have a 1-hour setup, a nice 1-hour structure with a trend line, something like this, and we get a nice, something like that, and a nice break, I'm trading that too. So I'll probably have two scale-ins on that one, because there's no reason for it to stop now, I think. I mean, of course, at some point it's going to make a bigger correction, but then we still have one more drop, one more break of this low, and then we might be finishing this downtrend. So to me, if a currency is set up that nicely, I gladly wait for the setup to materialize. Just like previous times on the Aussies, compared, Aussie dollar, euro odd, pound odd. That to me is a lot more pleasant trading than trying to catch 10 pips on the euro dollar. But that's just me. Nothing wrong against those who want to trade the euro dollar, though, right? But that's what I like, because it's such a massive trend. It's easier to trade, and it's very pleasant to trade, and yeah, it's less stressful for me. So. That's good. I like that. Especially because I already saw this fall happening in mid-April, which is here, that's great if you then can capitalize on that analysis as well, right? So, and if we look at the bigger picture and you flip this downside, we can definitely reach this 89, maybe even this 84 targets. So still some downside left there. So I'm loving it. All right, so that's great. So let's move on. That was the Aussie. I actually inadvertently did the Aussie before I wanted to actually show the pound yen for muscle. Sorry about that. Let's do that right now, though. So let me take all these indicators off the chart. And let me zoom out to the day chart at least. And you can easily see and capture this wedge right now. Something like this. So it looks like a pretty neat correction actually to the downside, to be honest. Right? I mean, a big correction, but if you compare it, it's still within the range of this upside. So if we break this trend line, that could be maybe a very interesting upside continuation. If we break this trend line, that could be very good downside continuation of this more recent correction, right? So a very interesting spot actually. Now the downside might still take a while because we're pretty far from this trend line, although we have maybe a trend line that can connect these more recent bottoms. But then again, the space, the potential here is limited to that trend line. Then we'll have to have a break, hook back continuation. The upside could be more imminent when we break these tops here. That could be very interesting. So very interesting pound yen situation. Very interesting. You can see we bounced off these tops right in here approximately, and this bottom. So that could be the turning spot as we speak. All right, let's take a look at the 4-hour chart, and you can see even within this wedge, we have a smaller wedge right in here. A lot of wedges here. Not that interested in that smaller wedge, but a break to the upside would be really very cool. And even to the downside on this 4-hour chart has a lot of pips to it, although the space looks limited on the day chart, right? At the moment it's not interesting. We're halfway that wedge, to be honest. Very funky. I mean, it's down, up. It could do that for long before it breaks out, to be honest. All right, so to me, this 1-hour world is not that interesting. It's just ranging. If you were fast enough to take maybe some sells in here or longs at these bottoms, then I applaud you. Then you did a really excellent job of range trading. But for those of you who want to trade breakouts, it's clear that, to me, anything in here is not interesting. All right? Any move down here could still be maybe a potential bounce, but we could get a break as well. So it depends on what type of trader you are. But me, myself, I'm only really interested in a break of these trend lines, preferably to the upside, or a break of this one, of course. But even a break of this one could be interesting for a smaller trade. That's what I'm really looking at, because I'm more a breakout trader, not much of a range trader myself. But I am aware that some of you are maybe range traders, so that could be a range that you might be interested in. Who knows? I'm not sure if you would, but the euro yen has the same thing basically, to be honest. You can see I already have this trend line from last week. That's where we stopped at, to the pip almost here, by coincidence. And that was a very good resistance line. And we're kind of breaking this line here as we speak. So maybe we'll see a downside continuation. Then again, this downside is moving very slow. So the upside would only be interested once we break these resistance lines for upside. Here too we have kind of a channel in a way going upside here on the euro yen. Does everyone see that? Upside correction, upside correction, upside. So are we going to get a that break of that upside back to the top of this trend line, or is it over and we just see a continuation of this downside? This top here important, this bottom. Alrighty, that's the euro yen. So let me add, oh no, pound Swiss is actually right in here. If anyone has a question, does anyone want to ask something specific first of all? Because I'm going maybe at a certain pace, so maybe you could have a question or two. I'll just prepare the pound Swiss chart in the meantime. Boy, oh boy, is it raining a lot here, by the way. And it's very ironic because it was just like scorching weather last week. It was like 36 Celsius, which is really uncommon, that hot where I live. And now it's 16. So it's really literally a 20 degree drop in a few days. So it's a big and fast drop. I said pip, that's fine. I meant degree. This trading is hypnotizing my thoughts. But a pretty massive temperature difference here from going from tropical to, yeah, kind of chilly actually. Really funny. Quite extreme for summer. So this is the Swiss chart I wanted to share you, but someone, Vitatus, has a question on euro yen. So I just scoot over to the euro yen, okay? And not sure which trend line you're talking about, Vitatus. Maybe this one you mean? Is that the one you're talking about? Let's see. Oh, that's a different line, I think. Oh, and 04. Let's see. November 13th. This one. Yeah, that's possible too. Well, they're both good, to be honest. You know, there's nothing wrong with multiple trend lines, to be honest. And this was a great one too because it signals the break. The only thing is it has 2 touches, so I like trend lines with 3 touches a bit more. You know, that's a bit my preference there. There's nothing wrong with the trend line. It's a good break. The only thing is that it has 2 touches. This one kind of like didn't. Yeah, it's maybe a touch, maybe broke through it indeed. The reason I would have both on my chart, although yours is fine, it's great. The reason why I still think mine is relevant is just because if you look at it, definitely could be a chance. I mean, there's nothing that could be upside here to this. Again, I'm realistic, and I understand too. It might not see a continuation of this trend, and we see this trend. Even then, I would have the line on my chart to see that. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So that's Next spot, I will show here. This small fall in here is very limited due to the trend line, right? So under here, there's more space. So very interesting spot. It's going to happen one day or another. It might take some time because these are day charts, so the whole process is going to take longer, but it's going to be interesting when it does. Same for the pound Swiss, and I find this very interesting because it has a great upper trend line connecting the tops, great lower trend line connecting the bottoms. Really interesting structure here. Love it. Really love it. I mean, beautiful trend line here, beautiful trend line here, and within that wedge, we have a nice downtrend channel, or is the bull flag? It will be a bull flag if we break to the upside and then break again. Or is it just something of a downward channel, a downtrend that actually will break this this trend line and keep going to the downside here like that, and then it will break that weekly support line and keep moving down. I like both breaks, the bull flag break and the bigger top line break to the upside, or this support line break and a continuation of this recent downtrend. Both are very interesting to me. I like that. Interesting chart. I like these type of charts, like the pound yen, euro yen, pound odd, euro odd that we were looking at, the gold last week. You know, those charts are really interesting to me. So let's see how that goes. I mean, it's a very simple analysis. You can do a lot more analysis on it, but this is what it boils down to, in my opinion. You can see the choppiness here in the 4-hour world, and stuck in a wedge, a smaller wedge here as well. A break of that upside I would not be interested in, to be honest, because we're running into that resistance line. I would really want a break of that resistance line and of these tops, just like these bottoms. So that's the playing field here on the pound Swissy. Let me take a look at the week chart. I'm sorry if I'm going a bit fast through these charts. Try to slow down. It's because I'm so used to flipping through these multiple time frames that so sorry about that. Sometimes I don't realize that it might be a bit fast. This is the week chart, and yeah, it just shows that bull flag basically. Nothing. Just looking at price action, trying to see if there's any price action or oscillator tip that I can give you that might make sense. Let me zoom into the 4-hour chart again. Now, nothing really interesting because we're not trending. I'm not going to use this oscillator yet. But if we do break out, then that could be a different story. All right? All right, we're reaching the top of the hour. We've got 1 minute left. So I'm going to take a look again at the euro dollar for those of you swing traders that had the patience to hang in there with me to look through those swing trades. We are getting a bounce here at this level. On the euro dollar. I lost my horizontal lines here. It's annoying. Looking good. So, you know, definitely wouldn't be looking for shorts personally. I mean, you can see why not, because we have a pretty good wick here. See that? This hour? Some support in the market. It doesn't have to mean that we break this level right now, though. We can see another attempt down and then probably another push up again. And then maybe we'll see the break. We can see the break right now, but never assume a break because this is a daily high still. We're right at that daily high. But you can see that once we pulled away from the daily high, that buyers stepped in at the retrace of this candle. That's why I was not interested in the short. Okay, just to show you why that could be dangerous. that 1 hour candle actually tied in nicely to our 5-minute analysis, which showed us, right, that we had a strong move up and the moving averages were torn away. We had an oversold situation here back to the moving averages, and then here we said it probably will bounce, right? But it hasn't gone anywhere yet. I mean, it moved up 10 pips, but that's already, I guess, for a 5-minute world, a substantial movement, right? Now, logically, when we do retrace, go back to this top, there's going to be some retrace. A top doesn't break in one shot, so we could easily see a retrace again, and then probably another move up when we find buyers yet again. That's what I expect, at least. The only time I'll change that is if we really break this low, to be honest. Let's take a look at the pound 15-minute world. Pound basically stuck in the sideways move yet still, right? So that's the problem with trading live with you together, and things could take long to develop. This could easily go sideways for another hour, and nothing really changes on the 15-minute world, let alone the 4-hour world or the 1-hour world, right? So, and it's difficult to wait for that and have that patience. I think above all, trading, in my opinion, is a waiting game for things to really pan out, because a lot of times you just see this, waiting for something to happen, and nothing is happening right now here. It's just bouncing between those levels. So what can you do? The euro pound, not that I like it, it's really acting funny, but I just wanted to share it with you that it's really turning into something massive, actually. It's just, wow, it's crazy, actually, think about it. It's just a huge zone here with these tops, these bottoms. Maybe this trend line and this bottom. So it's just like massive sideways move with maybe a in-between level right in here, because we respected the tops here, right? We respected the bottoms here. So there's kind of like a level in between. Does everyone see that? Besides the tops and bottoms of that sideways zone. Plus we have kind of a slant here, maybe. So it could be an ascending wedge that we see a bounce and break here. But otherwise, it's just gigantic sideways move, isn't it? And if we then zoom out to the week chart, it could be that we are just approaching the zero line. And once this zero line gets hit, we're ready for that upside continuation. For that upside continuation, it's just really the most interesting if we break out of this massive weekly trend line here that you have when you connect these stops. It could also, in that way, it could be a neat downtrend channel. All right, look at that. After a massive impulse. So this downtrend channel could, who knows, we could get that fall. That would be great trading. But we could also, because we bounce off this 618 fib here, which is the 618 of this move up. All right, 618 fib from here to here. We did have a very strong move up, and we're getting a consolidation zone. So maybe that would mean a break to the upside and a continuation of this uptrend here, like that. So euro pound on the weekly, tremendously interesting. Do we get a continuation of this downtrend, or do we get that massive maybe continuation of the uptrend, at least to parity? My bias is up to parity in a break, because if I look at this, it looks like a classical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to me, with this very strong 3, a very long, drawn-out, weakish correction for 4, most likely, and then up for 5. That looks very likely to me. But I'm realistic enough to know that if this bottom breaks, that it could be great downside. I'll follow it to the downside too. But if we break the upside here and get a bounce maybe in here, we got a good trade to this trend line, maybe a respect, then another break would be even better. So to me, very interesting. This is the day chart, by the way. Very interesting on this euro pound. Have to be aware of these tops as well, by the way. So it's kind of like an area of tops, to be honest. Just like that, this level right in here is more of an area. Probably the bottom too, I guess. So there's a lot of stuff happening here that before I really get interested. But looking like we're getting a bounce right here. Let me zoom into the 1 hour chart. Yeah, you can see we're already breaking out of these tops, this bottom. Pretty strong bullish price action as we speak. So, we won't make a drastic move in one shot. Probably do something like this first. That hook back could be interesting. We'll probably get a hook back. Why? Because we made such a massive down move here that when we move up, we'll probably bump into resistance here. It will probably act as resistance, push the currency down. Then most likely this trend line will act again as support right in here. See, that's the psychology. Bounce, continuation until resistance. The resistance will push it back down, back to support. The trend line and this bottom will see renewed buyers come into the market, push it up again, push it a bit down. That will get the break to the upside. So that's how you can use the psychology and resistance and support levels to determine what the most likely path is of least resistance. If you don't understand what I just said, tell me, okay? So that's how you can use support and resistances to determine the path of the currency. And that's how you can also use the behavior, the characteristics of the movement itself. Is it fast? Is it slowish? How is the oscillator looking? And you can then, using the speed in combination with levels, you can do a lot of analysis and do a lot of good trading with that. Anything could be a level, highs, lows, tops, bottoms, fibs. And then with the oscillator, and if you want, even add a bit of added wave. You don't even have to do that. But all the added wave does, it's not that difficult, really. People get scared of it, but the only thing you're doing is actually tying impulses and corrections together. That's all. It's not that difficult. It's just you have impulse correction, impulses, impulses, corrections, corrections. The only thing that every wave does is try to figure out what the most logical sequence is of those patterns. Well, that's it. People make it more fancy than it really is, in my opinion. So, yeah. Well, yeah, that's my opinion. So these are very interesting trend lines. And when we do break, I think it's going to be very, very nice and impulsive. But it's a huge sideways zone. That's the euro pound. Alrighty. Let's see. Anyone have a preference? Let me ask you. We got 6 minutes left. Any questions? I looked at the ones I really liked a lot, to be honest. Maybe the Aussie yen could be interesting as well. I'll show you why. Now, I didn't scan actually let me tell you this. I didn't scan all the 4-hour charts. So there could be, if you see a great 4-hour AO swing trade setup, let me know, because I didn't do that beforehand. If you see a great 1-hour trendline break setup, I scanned that. I didn't find it. So I scanned the 1-hour world, couldn't find a really good break that I like. I didn't scan the 4-hour world. So if you see a good 4-hour AO setup for the swing trade, let me know and I'll take a look at that, because I didn't do that yet, okay? But I did show you the 4-hour and day chart structures I found interesting, and a break of those trend lines would also be massively interesting. All right. So I already have Kaylin saying New Zealand CAD. We'll take a look at that, definitely. But I do want to show you this Aussie yen, and that's just a different reason. All right, there's a different reason for that, and the reason I want to show you the Aussie yen is just because, more just like out of interest here, we're kind of having a very difficulty right at this top. Now I know the Aussie has been tremendously weak, but it is stalling right at this top. So maybe could we get a bounce here? You know, that could be interesting. Or if we do break below this level, you know, that could also be interesting, signaling really a lot of weakness. So we're at a key level on this Aussie yen, in my opinion. We already have a double bottom here, which means that level is key on a shorter time frame as well, right? You can look. Let me zoom in a bit. Massive down move, double bottom here. And so a break of that level could mean downside continuation, or if we break above maybe, let's say, these tops in here, could mean signal a bigger correction. Right? Let me zoom into the 4-hour chart. It's quite a tight range, as you can see on the 4-hour world, isn't it? So maybe, especially these highs still important, maybe these highs here as well. So it depends. I want to see an impulsive break, and then a correction, and then the next impulse would be interesting for me. The downside is easier to trade because if we do get a downside break here, that could be already interesting. But waiting for the pullback and continuation is always good as well, of course. So that's why I like the Aussie yen. All right, it's just an interesting spot. Let's take a look at Kaylin's question on New Zealand CAD. I don't have it. That's, or let me check some other ones maybe. Forex Plus. That should be it, right? Kaylin, are you using the Admiral Brokers MetaTrader 4? Because I can't find New Zealand CAD, to be honest. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Okay. That explains it, I think, because I really can't find it, to be honest. Let me take a look again. No, I can't see it. Sorry about that. We could take a look at the odd CAD. I think I have the odd CAD. Could be something similar. Let's go to the day chart. So yeah, this odd CAD definitely here too. The odd really losing strength against everything, isn't it? I mean, it has lost value against almost every currency I've looked at, so that's quite impressive. Pretty big wick on the weekly candle, though. Otherwise, the real next support level may be here. Otherwise, really nothing. Yeah, really nothing otherwise, to be honest, on this week chart. Day chart, massively downtrend. So, and we're reaching resistance. So, anywhere under that resistance could easily be a turning spot for downside continuation. Even these tops in here, I would still say are crucial because these moving averages, even if we break this top, Here we could see one more downfall easily. I mean, especially because the Aussie dollar is very strong still to the downside. I do think that we'll break one more time to the downside here as well, to be honest. We did break already here with some divergence. That could be the reason why we're moving up now. So these two tops definitely interesting, because if we break those tops, that could signal the first turnaround as well. Although I would want to see an impulse, a very weak correction, and then maybe I'll get interested in this upside. Although even then, you have tops here that are very dangerous. So upside is really risky. I wouldn't touch it for a long time to come yet. A lot of stuff has to happen for upside. Downside is a lot more interesting, because then, to be honest, I would easily put a trend line here, like this. That's a pretty nice one, actually. Didn't see that this morning. Sorry about that. I didn't look at the AutoCAD. That's a very nice one. I mean, it's a nice triangle here, and considering the 4-hour downside pressure and today's chart pressure to the downside, any break of that trend line would be very interesting. I like that. Looks very nice. For the AO strategy, this low would be crucial here, and the trend line. So I would approach it that way, with trend line break to this bottom, and if this bottom breaks, the 4-hour swing trade there. So that's an awesome setup here on the AutoCAD. I like it. Nice. Not upside though yet, unless we really break out of this trend line maybe here. That would be a first indication for me that this downside is maybe getting a bit weaker. Still would have to break this top. Still would have to make a very slow correction, and then maybe I'll be interested in upside. And then still be very careful of this top. So that's going to be rounding it up. I'm just going to take a look at the dollar INR, Kalen, if I have that. Hope so for you. We had just the dollar index. We did get that bounce. Remember last week we were talking about that bounce at support at this trend line? That did happen, right? Of course, euro dollar, pound dollar showing the same. Then I just want to quickly look at our euro, see what happened in the meantime. We did get a bit of a down push, which I said could happen because we move up logically, but then we bump into the resistance that could put that currency down again, and then we might bump into support again, which sends it up. That's how you can use that support and resistance level, even on a smaller time frame. Not that I do that, but you can see it couldn't break this 50-minute top. That was really the pullback continuation when we break this top. Didn't happen yet. So let's see. On the 1-hour chart, this strong 1-hour candle is still important. If we don't break this high for another 3 candles, then I think downside is more likely. If we break the high within the next 3 hours or 3.5, then I think we'll see more upside, although it's counter trend. If we break this low, then probably more downside is likely as well. Let's take a look at the pound. Pound still bouncing around nowhere. You see that? But again, here, either this or this, the most interesting situation here on the pound dollar. Now, so same story basically. Now let me check if I have that particular currency. Now I warn you, I've never ever looked at that one. So, my although technical analysis you can of course provide on any chart, most of the currencies I do have a certain feeling for it. So this would be totally new for me. So that's kind of interesting, but I'm afraid I don't have it. I don't see it anywhere. Nope, 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 nope. Somehow don't have that one. Sorry about that. So that's going to round it up, folks, for today. Just a quick summary, I guess. Really no interesting intraday trades, in my opinion, at the moment, unless we break, I guess, those tops or bottoms. Maybe we can get some movement. Otherwise, it's really just oscillating here, bouncing up and down in no man's land. Euro is still approaching now this bottom. Let's see if it can hold this bottom. If it doesn't, then the price action signals, as you can see, not strong enough to fight the trend. I mean, the trend is down, but the price action was bullish, and in this case, the trend beat the price action in a way, and we just continue downwards, right? Basically. But until we break that bottom, price action could still fight back, and we can see a push up here and against the trend, a continuation, right? That's how I would summarize it. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed the kind of the longer term analysis on Euro Pound, Pound Swiss C, Euro CAD, and Pound Odd, Euro Odd. We looked at Odd Yen, Euro Yen, stuff like that, Odd Dollar. If you see any 4-hour setup, let me know. The 1-hour setup and 4-hour setup on the Odd CAD to the downside look interesting to me, if we get it. All right. So otherwise, I didn't see much really regarding swing trading. Just these massive structures, really. That's the only thing that's really the only thing that caught my eye today. It's just these massive structures that are taking place here on those currency pairs I mentioned. Maybe the dollar yen, if it were to go to the zero line here and we get a break of these highs, it could be a good continuation of this dollar yen reversal here that happened, because we already broke out of this trend line, right? We were building a base here, maybe a bear flag, nope, upside. So that could be good continuation if we get to the zero line and then break above these tops here. Right? That could be a good 4-hour swing trade there. The dollar yen, for example. Euro CAD. Oh, any setups like Euro CAD is killing asking. Not sure. I didn't scan it for that. Let's see. Not sure about that. Maybe this dollar CAD. I mean, if this dollar CAD would get today and tomorrow a retrace, something like this, and we would bounce off hopefully a bit of a smaller fib, like 236 or 382, and then continue to the upside, then that could be an interesting position trade for that upside continuation on that dollar CAD. But it has to be a small bounce, otherwise the thing is going to correct probably a bit longer, and then we'll get the break, and the whole structure will look differently. It could take almost 2 weeks before probably we'll get anything of an upside trade, maybe, or at least a week. So the whole thing kind of it's not relevant now. But if we get today and tomorrow small retrace, and then Thursday a break to the upside, that could be interesting on the CAD. So let's keep an eye on that. Let me take a look at this Euro odd. Maybe, but it's too massive, to be honest. I think it's really too big to trade to the upside. Nothing else at the moment. I didn't scan it, as I said. Maybe the dollar downside if we get a weak retracement as well. Same like the New Zealand dollar, maybe downside. We're not there yet, just potentials. Let me see this weekly. No, nothing there. Nothing much at the moment, to be honest. Maybe the pound Swissy. Pound Swissy, maybe forget this downside here. And dollar CAD maybe upside later this week. Maybe Aussie, New Zealand later this week. Yeah, so nothing yet. We'll have to see. Sneezy, this is definitely meaning something. It's the awesome oscillator. It's a tool, an indicator, and you can find it by going to Insert Indicators, Bill Williams, and you'll see awesome oscillator. All right. In general, though, anything that you see on the chart should have a meaning. Otherwise, it has no sense to put on the chart. You might as well take it off, right? So it definitely has a meaning. I use it for LED wave counting. I use it for divergence. I use it for the 4-hour swing trade setup. I use it to have an idea when a bear or bull flag break is ready for breakout, because if it's back to the zero line, then the bull or bear flag break could be ready for a sustainable break. So those are the things I use it for. I think it's very useful. I love it. That's my main indicator, basically. It's actually typically the only indicator I use on the bottom. So I know that there are a lot of people who use more indicators. I know that some don't use any. So I'm kind of the in-between fella that uses one. Yeah, Meredith, we could. I think we already did a session on it, actually. It's a recording. I remember talking about it. I think but we only probably discussed it in a divergence-convergence scenario. So not sure how extensive I explained it. That's true, Meredith. Well, the thing is that I think we'll actually have, we have an indicator webinar coming up, actually. All right. So I'll talk about the AO then. Alrighty? That's soon. That will be really either next week or the week after. That's really coming very fast. So I'll talk. It's called the indicator webinar or something like that. It has indicator in the name, so you'll recognize it. So I don't know exactly what indicators Tananta will be talking about, maybe pivot points, but I'll talk about the AO then. Any tips on the ATR? I don't really use the ATR. I wouldn't be able to give that many tips. Unfortunately, Shashi, but maybe Talantala. We can definitely ask him, okay? Alrighty, folks. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this mix of swing and position trading here, or at least I try to make it a mix. You're getting some bounce here as we speak off that bottom. So, well, I had a good time. Please feel free to ask more questions tomorrow. If you're there, I hope to see you tomorrow on Wednesday, the 26th of June. And wish you all good trading and a very pleasant day. All right? Cheers, everyone. Ciao.